Good accent. Holy shit.
Joe Swanson. Okay, let's wait for the stream to come up. Okay. Right. Are we good to go, do you think? Okay, I think we can get started. Let's just double check and make sure the guys can hear me on the stream before we continue. So otherwise we'll waste content.
Should be good now.
There you go. Perfect. Right, that was a bit of a palaver. Welcome. Welcome everyone to Critical Jim. This is the first episode. It's very, very exciting. So I had to I left my headset at work yesterday, so I had to run out to Camden this morning and buy a new headset, and unfortunately it took a bit of getting used to. Okay, so apparently I'm really loud compared to Darren, so that's not a surprise. I'm generally quite a loud person anyway, so I'm just going to drop my microphone level down a bit. Which one are we on? Let's disable that. Is that better?
Audio, the bane of every streamer.
Oh, it is. It's just because the I think the laptop audio was on as well as the.
Gotcha.
Right, levels. There we go. Boost it up a little. Okay. That should be better. Okay, it says Darren is very low. Do you want to try again?
How am I now, chat? Let me know.
Come on, chat. Help us out. Yes.
To the max on my
this
PC.
is better. Okay, fantastic. Right. So, how did this come about? I was having a good old moan the other week, and it occurred to Philip that I was quite good at moaning, mainly because I'm English, and English people can moan quite well. So he asked me to moan on a regular basis, once a month, essentially. So, based on also chat saying we're still a bit low, Darren could be a fraction louder. Okay. I can't do much about that.
Mic.
Yeah, exactly. You have to keep going. So yeah, basically the idea was that we would pick a map and I would moan about it, but in a constructive way, and basically taking a look at maps that have done well and are considered to be, pretty good maps, and just really seeing what we can learn from them and see what we can figure out that maybe we could have done better. And what's really interesting is we had a I can't look at the chat because it keeps putting me off. We were sending out tweets and stuff promoting what we're doing, and I saw that it had been retweeted by Sam Coombs, who is the author of Station 51, and this was yesterday after Station 51 had been announced as the subject of the first one. So I actually invited him to join us today. He couldn't or didn't want to, one out of the two, but he's still very, very enthusiastic to hear what we've got to say and to understand this. So anyone who doesn't know Sam Coombs, he's actually a professional game designer now. He works for a game studio. So, like all professionals, take the feedback on the chin. We don't mean it unpleasantly. I picked Station 51 because it stuck in my memory as being a particularly good-looking map with lots going on. But it also stuck in my memory because of the combat and the way essentially it had been put together. And I thought that there were some points of interest there that would be good for all of us to learn. And it's actually something recently that I've noticed, that there is an ongoing trend of combat and the way combat's built in Half-Life 2, and I'm not sure that we're getting the best out of it in the mods that we build. So, without any further ado, I suppose we should get on with it, right?
Indeed.
Any words from you, Darren, just before we get started?
Let's think. Yeah, this is a really interesting map to look at. I think it could be cool to go through because me and Jim have differing opinions on it, so we can moan at each other as well as at the map. And yeah, it should be fun.
Okay.
It's a cool level, but there's certainly some things we can talk about, see what we can do better in the future.
Yeah, I guess there's just a historical thing to say that it did well on both releases. We had two releases. It had an initial release, which I think was just the first map, which is up to the point of the airboat, and then it did a second release with 2 maps, and in both cases it was well received. It got play it nows, it got personal favourites in some cases. So yes, just put it within that context. Okay, so moving on, let's get started.
Go.
So one of the interesting things about the mod is that it is 100% combat, pretty much. There's no puzzles that I can remember. There's some areas which are a bit more have a slightly different approach to it, but essentially it's 100% combat. And to my mind, there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's fantastic. But I think, go on.
This is where we disagree. It's like 5 minutes. No, I always think back to something Philip brought up with his Run, Think, Shoot, Live competition. It's something that I've never really thought about properly with Half-Life maps before, but he's absolutely right, is that you need all 4 of those elements to make it feel like a Half-Life level. And I think this series of maps kind of misses on the think part. It's very much just kind of go from area to area, kill stuff and move on. There's never any kind of like stop and think about your environment or what you're doing or what the story is. I think that's something that's missing from the whole release.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think it's actually I think it's for me it's more the approach to combat that's more of a a challenge on this one, because I think you could quite easily build a map that was all combat, but as long as the combat was varied enough, it would it would sort of blend and make it interesting enough to keep playing. And I think what I see with this map is that it's very samey all the way through, and so I think that can often be a bit of a thing. So I guess we should talk about just this intro section. And you got the radio, and it gives you a general outline. And I didn't listen to it. And each time I've played this, I haven't really listened, because I know the map is really just react to what's in front of you. You don't need to understand the briefing in order to be able to do anything within the map. And I think that's an important point as well, because people often feel like they have to put context around what you're doing, a story. And once again, I know that you feel that that's quite a big deal, right?
Yeah, totally. It's something that was always nagging at me in this level. Like, you have this intro at the beginning here, which sets the scene basically, but then it's completely throwaway. After that, it's basically a combat arena for like the whole rest of the entire release. There's no real going back to what you're doing or why you're doing it. Even the locations themselves are super abstract. Like I never felt like I was in a real place for the entire map. It's it was really crazy. I think it was really lacking on the story element, which really it didn't put me off the release, but I was just thinking, if this had more context in like what I was doing and why Gordon's here, and if there were other characters to talk to or learn from, I think it would have been a much better release for it. But yeah, let's get going. Jim? Did we lose Jim? Are we having technical issues?